Today on JetCast, I discuss the Aaron Rodgers trade and the upcoming draft with Jets YouTuber Greenbean. JetCast Shop is the only place to get official JetCast merchandise. You can buy t-shirts, hats, water bottles, and much, much more. All of our items are high quality. Order online and have your product shipped right to your door. Check out the latest gear today at shop.jetcastpod.com. JetCast Nation, welcome to episode 17. I am your host, Pat, and you guys should know who this is. This is Greenbean. How you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, so how has your off-season been treating you so far?
You know what? Honest to God, it's been a weird off-season. I feel like, number one, look, we're all hostages with this Aaron Rodgers thing. So it's kind of weird. But we're used to, the Jets having these crazy off-season, like we're the off-season champs, and it's been a little bit more subdued, which has kind of it's made me slip into a little bit of a lull, which is unlike 25 years straight it's been like madness in the offseason. This year feels calmer for some reason. I'm relaxed. I don't know what that is.
It was kind of pushed off a little bit because we were, for the first time since 2015, we were in it in December still, crazily enough, even though we were losing games. So like my mock drafts and my, scouting of what's happening with the new guys coming in all got pushed off because we were actually like in it. Usually by Thanksgiving, you can see everybody doing mock drafts on Twitter. So it was a little crazy. So let's just get right to it. Aaron Rodgers, do you think it's going to happen this week? Do you think it's going to happen during the draft, day 2 of the draft, after the draft? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that while there might be some kinks or whatever, little details or whatever that they might still go back and forth with, I'm a believer that this is about maximum splash, maximum income potential. So stretch it out, and the biggest boom they could make is during the draft, and that's what I think is going to happen. Rick Spielman, the former GM of the Vikings, came out last week and said, he almost like, come on. Like, what are we talking about here?
Right.
So they're going to do it on the draft, just like Philly did last year. And it's going to be a big, huge thing. The most eyes are on it at that moment. So I think it'll probably be day one. If not day one, let's say they're not going to flip picks or something like that. And it's day 2 and we give them pick 42 or 43. And then we find out whatever else. I think it's going to be done on the draft. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that's what I'm really strongly believe that's when it's going to take place.
Right. I'm at the point now where I'm just like, get it done. Just stop, dragging us so long. I do trust Joe Douglas, and I don't think he's going to put us in a bad position. But if they flip 13 and 15, I could care less. At this point, I want to see it get done. I do think it's going to be a second round pick this year. Just because there is no third round pick. And then next year, I think I keep seeing it's going to be a conditional. The Packers, from what I've seen, want a first rounder in 2024, but Joe Douglas wants to have that on a sliding scale based on, I guess, whatever we do. Do you kind of see the same thing with next year's picks? Do you think it'll be a sliding scale? What are your thoughts on the idea of that give back pick in 2025 if Rodgers doesn't play 2 years?
Yeah, I think number one, I think Rodgers is going to play 2 years, and I think maybe I'm wrong. We can't. The Packers have been dealing with and their fans have been dealing with the Aaron Rodgers situation for a while now, and we're new to it. So, but I do think that it's going to be 2 years, especially if he comes here and they're successful. We have a good squad. We have a good culture. We have a good team. And everybody. We have Robert Saleh, who, look, his time management might, still need some tweaking and some things like that. But he's a very well liked coach for the most part. Players like to play for him, and he's motivational and all those kinds of things. And I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to enjoy it here. Hackett's here. Lazard is here. So I think he'll stay 2 years, but I also think that Joe Douglas is going to get what he wants for the most part. I mean, look, you got to pay. I mean, we're not going to walk out of this giving them a fifth. That's just not real, right? So
Right.
I do think that first that you mentioned is going to be on some sort of scale. Like you said, if we win the Super Bowl, they get a first. Fine. That's all well and good. If he retires, then yeah, I mean, you can get a second or whatever it might be, and then we get a fourth. Something in that range. I think Joe Douglas is going to get that. And the truth is, I think it makes sense. It's like, look, we're eating all this money. We're saving you from one of the most ridiculous contracts that I've ever seen, man. I mean, we've gone through this thing with a fine tooth comb. How could you ever write up a contract that puts you in a position to have $90 million in dead cap? It's like, who does that? There's no good organization would do that. So they made the contract. We're saving you from it.
Yeah.
That has to have value as well.
Yeah. Realistic expectations for this team, though, with Aaron Rodgers, where I think realistically next year, divisional round, possibly championship round, and then the second year, as long as he's here, I think it's boom or bust. It's a championship or a failure that year. That's where I'm at. Where are you at?
Well, I think if we can make it to the championship game, I think that we can make it to the Super Bowl. Now we have the Chiefs, right? I mean, the Chiefs are
right.
They're no
Chiefs are the Chiefs.
The Chiefs are the Chiefs, man, and they're hardened. I mean, they're groomed. They know what they belong there. So beating them is going to be tough. That said, I mean, look, we're bringing back most of our defense, at least where it stands now. Who knows after the draft what they do if they start dropping guys or whatever. But the way it looks right now, I mean, we lost, Sheldon Rankins, Nathan Shepard, maybe Vinny Curry, Quan Alexander. So we're losing a few guys, excuse me, but they're the main pieces that we kind of look at as our pillars are all coming back. And it was a top 5 defense. They're coming into year 2 in the system. Some guys year 3 in the system. Quinnen Williams coming into his own and on and on and on. And then you got the offense. Now, without this 32nd ranked quarterback play last year, I mean, we're a playoff team already.
Mm-hmm.
So you bring in an Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, I think the sky's the limit. And look, it all comes down to health and chemistry and all those things. But I really do believe that we have the potential to make some real noise. Like you said, divisional round, championship round, game, whatever. But if we can make it there, I believe that we have the chance to make it to the Super Bowl. And I think that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that championship Super Bowl kind of a thing for this team.
Right. So obviously the last few years I feel like Jets teams in general have always, at least recently, fallen back on their defense. The defense has always been the strength of the team, even going back to Rex, except for that odd 2015 year where Ryan Fitzpatrick played out of his mind.
Yeah.
So you would hope that continues, but I do worry about the D-line. I do think we're thin there. We missed out on Fletcher Cox. We missed out on Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell was even getting messaged by Aaron Rodgers, hey, come here, win a Super Bowl, which is just mind-boggling that Aaron Rodgers is messaging people to come play for the Jets with him. Yeah. My brain hasn't fully wrapped around that yet.
Weird.
It is weird. It's very weird. What do you think they do at D-line? Do you think they plug in some holes in the draft? Is there someone else out there that you think that they could get to try and to fit this rotation? Because obviously Quinnen, I don't think Quinnen actually gets paid this year. I think they're going to work on the offseason because they don't have to pay him. Just they picked up his 5th year. What do you think is going to happen at D-line?
Well, I mean, look, our D-line was studly last year, right? Would you agree with that?
So absolutely.
All we really lost was Sheldon Rankins and Nathan Shepard. Am I missing somebody? I know Bryce Huff signed his tender.
They do, but the idea with Saleh was rotating those bodies and keeping everybody fresh, and now you have 2 less bodies to stick in there. If I had to point to any point in the defense where I think is probably the thinnest, safety. Not so much with the Clark signing now, but I do think the D-line needs to be addressed somehow, and I just don't know how that's going to happen.
Well, I do agree, but I'm not I wouldn't say I'm worried. I think there's a process. We brought in Quentin Jefferson. which is, I mean, he's when you look at the statistics,
Mm-hmm.
he's very much on par with Sheldon Rankins. There's, he's a little better here, Sheldon Rankins a little better there, but they're very, very similar. And getting him, I mean, his own quote is getting back into an attacking defense is kind of more his comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was a good signing, and it takes care of 50% of what our concern is. And I think the Jets have every intention on using one of their draft picks on the defensive line. The great news with that is that, look, if we end up keeping both seconds, let's say it doesn't happen, the Aaron Rodgers thing doesn't happen, and we keep both seconds, they're going to use one on a defensive tackle. If they
Right.
don't, if we end up sending a second and we wait till the fourth, the great news is we're kind of looking for a run stopper. Run stoppers, fourth, fifth, sixth round are not exactly. It's
Well,
not
that's what
like
Nathan
finding
Shepard was. Nathan Shepard was late round pick,
well,
and he was
right.
just a big body in the middle. Oh
Fatukasi's
yeah.
is sick.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And those types of guys. Plus, we have Tanzel Smart, who I'm not gonna try to say, oh, Tanzel Smart, he's some guy to hang your hat on, but he's also been here for a couple of years, and he's being developed, and that's what you want to see a team doing. Like, you want to see guys stay around, late round picks, mid round picks, undrafted free agents. You want to see a team that can groom them. Guys like a Sherwood, like a Tanzel Smart, coming up through the ranks and making an impact. And I think that also can't be forgotten. Again, not to count on Tanzel Smart, but he's here as well, and I happen to like him as a player. So I think we're going to use a draft pick on a defensive tackle. We also did bring in Quentin Jefferson, so that rotation is still intact. I mean, we have Jermaine Johnson, we got Quentin, we have Michael Clemens, Carl Lawson. Like, all the guys are still here in many respects. And don't forget, free agency isn't over. I mean, after the draft is when a lot of teams kind of see what they can do, what they need, and then they start plugging the holes after that. So I wouldn't say I'm concerned. I'm with you that it's definitely one of our needs, but I think that we're going to be fine post-draft. I think we're going to feel a little bit better about it.
Okay. Other side of the trenches. Do you think it's a foregone conclusion that they are going to take a offensive lineman at 13?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I did 2 shows this week, and not that I'm an insider, because I'm not, right? But I have a few people that tell me things that are insiders, and so I got a call on what was it, Wednesday? Just a call out of nowhere. Hey, you want some news? I said, yeah, I do. And one of the things that they told me was that the Jets are absolutely eyeing a tackle in the first and a center. Now, the centers that they're looking at they're looking at a few, but the ones that are up top happen to be John Michael Schmitz and Tippmann, interestingly enough.
Oh, really?
I thought it, yeah.
Okay.
I thought it might have been Stromberg or, whoever, Avila's pretty, outside of Schmitz, Avila's kind of my guy. I really like him, but and I think they do too, but Tippmann is kind of their number 2. I like him too. So now, in the event, the tackle that, let's say that they have 2 tackles with the first round grade for 13, whatever. If they're both gone, they more than likely won't have an issue just bumping it over to the center. They need a center. And granted, it might be considered a reach by some, but I've been told that the Jets aren't really looking at it like that. They know what they need, and they know what they want to get. They know the guys that they're eyeing. And if the tackle isn't there, which is, again, my source, and I talked to Connor Hughes last night, he corroborated. He said, absolutely, that's what I'm hearing as well.
Right.
So because I asked him, I said, this is what I was told. What do you see? What do you hear? And he said, that's exactly what I'm hearing, that the Jets are eyeballing a specific tackle. If he's not there, they might move to a different position. So it's, from what I hear, it might be center. We might all think that we reached, but if they can't slide back and they want their guy, they're going to grab their guy. And I think that's smart, man. Like, if you think there's a center that's just, in a league of his own, let's say he's the best, yeah, you'd like to slide down to maybe 19, 20 and grab him. But if you can't, you still grab him. And I think that's a safe bet. So, yeah, I think tackle's what they're aiming for. Hopefully one of the guy that they like is there, and we can grab him and then wait till the second and grab our center, whether it's Tippmann or whoever. But yeah, I think offensive line, we're going to see it, man. We're going to see a tackle and a center brought in.
Yeah, I don't think Skoronski makes it past the Eagles, so I think they got a shot at Paris Johnson. Or if I would say those are the top two, and then Darnell Wright is three underneath that.
Like
I
Broderick Jones.
I would put him underneath Darnell Wright. I put him fourth.
Interesting.
But
All right.
if we're on this, if I wish to be a fly on the wall in those
I
draft
know.
meetings,
Me
but
too, man.
yeah, I do worry having a rookie center with Aaron Rodgers though. I don't know your thoughts about that. I know they were kind of in on Ben Jones trying to get him. If we don't end up getting a center, I think we got to try and get McGovern back for whatever he would take. Not just because he's an all-world center, but he is a veteran center and he does know what he's doing. So I do worry about having a fresh rookie, hiking the ball to Aaron Rodgers. The two of them have to be on the same page. We've been blessed as Jet fans to have really a long line of great centers. I know going back before my time, but for my lifetime was always Mawai and then Nick Mangold.
Right.
Nick Mangold was the stalwart, and he was probably one of the smartest guys on the team. So, I do worry having a rookie there. Do you have any concerns about that?
Only if they decide to wait till the 4th or something like that. But let's look at the two most recent examples. I mean, you got Linderbaum last year. He did fine in front of Lamar Jackson and Huntley. He was great last year. Before him, you got Creed. What did I say? Yeah, Linderbaum and then Creed Humphrey.
Mm-hmm.
They had no problem putting him in front of Mahomes, and he did fantastic. I mean, he made every Jets fan furious that we didn't take him. We had an opportunity to take him, and so I mean, I think when you're looking at the premium guys, and there's usually two, 1, 2, 3 at the most, like those premium guys. If we're gonna get them, like for example, if we get John Michael Schmitz, I have zero concern, and that might be you might run into a blip or here or there. But again, I think when you're bringing on that those premium type centers, I don't really have that concern. Now, if we wait till the 4th or 5th and we're getting like a guy that's good but needs a year, then I'm concerned, and I would say bring on McGovern. I don't have a problem bringing McGovern back, or Ben Jones for that matter. Anyway, just to have him, man. Like let's say the rookie wins in camp, but the first 2 games he looks like he's sporadic, he's overwhelmed, and you can just kind of back up and just put him on the back burner and bring in the vet. I think that's a good idea. But McGovern, I mean, he's still out there because he's probably pricing himself out, and he would have to more than likely come down significantly. I mean, you look at Spot Track, he's 13.5. No center's got anywhere near that in the offseason, so I don't think that's real. At the same time, they have to see where that is. I mean, if he's going to want 10 million and they're looking at like 4 or something like that, then there's obviously a wide gap. But as far as like using that, 13 or 42 or 43 on a center, I'm not really that concerned. The only concern I do have is that stretch of teams from 33 to 42, there's like 4 or 5 teams in there that could realistically take a center. So then you're left with center 6. Then I have an issue. You know what I mean? Then it's like, okay, this is a little spooky. But if we jump up like we did last year a little bit, just jump back into 29, 30, something like that, and grab your center, I think we're going to be fine.
I would love that. The last 2 drafts, it was always, let's be honest, he's hit beautifully, I think, on the last 2 drafts. So we're finally at a point where we have our pieces and we can start, putting in those little blue chip players where we need. So, So what are you doing for the draft? You're going to be streaming again with Ryan and Matt, I assume?
Yep. I'm going to be, by the end, we're going to be completely fried and exhausted. That is a long-ass stream, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so fun. It really is. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy it. This is our 4th year doing it over on Ryan's channel, Jets Talk 24/7 with Matt. And but it's such a good time. But I'm like last year, we didn't have any picks past the 4th. So we streamed the rest of the draft. We were talking about McDonald's fries versus Burger King. I mean, it was like, we had nothing. So by the end, it was like we were done.
Yeah,
And
but
that's been my
at least they
experience.
jumped back up and got JJ, so you had at least that. You weren't just waiting for everything to happen.
Yeah. Well, for the beginning of the draft was fantastic. That day 3 though was long, baby. Let me tell
Oh,
you.
I'm
So
sure.
this year, I mean, look, we have a sixth, so we're who knows if we use them to jump up but currently at least we have some picks all the way to the sixth round. So at least we can have something to talk about. But yeah, it's a good time. I mean, last year we had over 110,000 people in there. So
Wow.
this year we're hoping to grow. And yeah, so that's what I do, man. I'm there for the entire draft. It's gonna be a good time.
Great. Well, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. I'll have your channel in the description of the video. Any last words?
Yeah, I think Jets fans just know, man. Look, it's hard for us to believe. It is. I get it. I've been around a long friggin' time, but it's time. Like you can look, you can see it. We have people running the organization that know what they're doing. I mean, not perfect, but it's totally different. It's time to start believing and having some faith. I think that even us having that faith will give that it helps. It helps the whole thing. And I think the more positive we are, the better team we're going to have. So let's everybody start believing and let's watch some good ass football, man. Starting with the draft going into the season, baby. I'm ready.
All right. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next one in a week.
All right. Thanks for having me.